Am I the asshole for misleading my husband for years to make him pay for our daughter's education? I, 45F, have been married to my husband, 56M, since I was 18. I have a son, 27M, and a daughter, 22F. We are not rich but decently well off. We always planned for our son to study abroad in a Western country for university since he was a child, and this is expensive due to the high international tuition fees. This went as planned for my son. However, ever since I got a laptop and phone with internet, I have used it to learn new things on my own from sources like MIT courseware and YouTube, and I really wanted my daughter to be an educated woman. I also stopped believing in my religion while my husband is devout. I pretend to be religious and follow our customs for the sake of the marriage. I only have high school level education. The plan for my daughter was to find a boy from a nice family for her to marry, and not go to university or to go to a local one if she wanted to. I convinced my husband that these days boys from good families want an educated woman for status reasons even if she does not work, and that if our daughter had a Western degree she could marry into an elite family. It worked, and he paid for her to attend a top university which she got into, which is actually better than the one my son went to. My daughter, after leaving, also confided to me that she does not believe our religion anymore and started living a different lifestyle, one I can never have. She recently graduated, got a work visa, and stayed in the Western country and has a good job there. My husband got really angry when he heard and is feeling really cheated and blames me as I persuaded him to pay for her education and let her go. He even found a picture of her online of a university competition she did where she won a prize and posed for a picture without head covering. I am feeling a little guilty since it is his money that let her go to university, and now we may not get to see her again. Am I the asshole? Sorry for any mistakes, my English is not the best.
Am I the asshole for demolishing my daughter's room after she moved out? My 18-year-old daughter, Meg, is in college. She moved in with her boyfriend a few months ago, which left her old bedroom empty. Her bedroom used to be right next to our tiny living room. To make our tiny living room into a normal-sized living room, we knocked out my daughter's room's wall, refloored the space, and fixed the walls. Now it looks like the bedroom was never there and we have a spacious living room. When my daughter came home to visit and saw that her room is gone, she made a huge deal about it. She got all emotional and said if we never wanted to let her move back, we should have just said so instead of completely demolishing her room. I told her that if anything happens and she needs to move back, we will welcome her and she could sleep on the couch as long as she wants. But she accused us of wanting to get rid of her forever and for her to never visit us since we got rid of her room so fast, only a few months after she moved out, and we should have waited longer. Am I the asshole for not waiting longer with the renovation?
Am I the asshole for dropping my daughter off with her dad because she was constantly comparing me to her stepmom? I have 5 kids, but this post is about my third, Kenzie, 7. Kenzie is the result of an affair between me and her dad, who was also married with kids. My ex and I divorced when I was pregnant, but Kenzie's dad and his wife stayed together. When Kenzie was born, I gave her dad full custody and only visited for the first couple years. When she was almost 3, I got married again. We moved into a bigger house, and my new husband wanted Kenzie to start staying over and get to know him and her siblings, so we had her stay with us every other weekend. The problem is she's very spoiled, and everything I do she insists her mommy could do it better. She was here on Saturday. Kenzie is a very picky eater, mostly because she has always refused to give Kenzie frozen food, fast food, and most packaged food. Because of this, she always sends Kenzie with a little cooler with her meals for the weekend and instructions on how to store/prepare/reheat everything, but we were just hit with a crazy storm and their power and cell service was out, so she was not able to cook for Kenzie and we weren't able to call her. She refused to eat what the rest of us were having and made my husband take her grocery shopping to get her own snacks and ingredients for meals. We were going to watch a movie while the younger 2 were napping, but Kenzie got upset because the movie my older 2 picked was PG-13 and she's not allowed to watch those. Then she got upset that I didn't take her to the park and said her mommy would have. Then she wanted me to take her to ride her bike and was upset that I didn't do that either because her mommy would have taken her. Bedtime was the worst. She usually takes a shower, plugs in her white noise machine/nightlight, and FaceTimes her stepmom so her stepmom could read to her until she falls asleep, but since she couldn't call, she wanted me to do her whole bedtime routine, including bubble bath, braiding her hair, reading bedtime stories, and rubbing her back until she falls asleep. I said no because I don't have time for all of that, and she started crying, so I packed her bag and drove her back to her house. When I told her stepmom what happened, she gave me a look but took Kenzie in for bed and asked me to wait in the living room. She made me wait for over an hour while she put Kenzie to bed. Then when she came downstairs, she apologized for not packing Kenzie's meals and offered to drop her off the next morning with some easy recipes, but I said no, just keep her until she learns not to judge or criticize everything I do. She apologized for Kenzie's behavior and walked me out. I told my husband about it, and he was furious that I told Kenzie's stepmom to keep her and is accusing me of abandoning my kid. He's acting like I'm a terrible mom and is now planning a weekend vacation next weekend with him, the kids, and Kenzie. Am I the asshole for driving her back?
Am I the asshole for leaving my friend's party after they expected their guests to pay for drinks? This past weekend, my wife, 41F, I, 42M, attended one of my friend's parties that I was invited to. For context, my friend, 42M, his GF, 48F, and their two friends, also mid-40s M and F, were hosting this party, the four of them together. A few weeks ago, when I received the invitation, I realized that it said on it something along the lines of "Please be prepared to purchase your own drinks." Didn't think much of it at the time, considering I just thought they were hiring a bartender or something, but fast forward to the day of the party. I arrive with my wife, and it's my friend and his GF standing behind their kitchen counter that they were using as their bar, making/charging the guests for drinks. Now I was confused for a few reasons. 1. The fact that this party was held at my friend's house. It's not like this was at an event space or something where this would be normal emo. 2. There was no bartender that they hired or anything like that. It was literally two of the four of them standing in the kitchen at a time making drinks for people and then charging them accordingly. Drinks were all under $10. Now I'd if this is actually a common thing, but I have never in my 42 years of living been to a party at a friend's house where the hosts are charging you themselves for drinks. I've had multiple parties over the years that I have invited my friend and his GF to in which they have attended, and I've never charged anyone for drinks ever. I've always bought all the drinks myself and had an open bar type of situation, where my guests can make their own drinks. I even had a proper bartender once and still no one was charged. It was an open bar. I honestly felt like my friend, his GF, and their friends were all trying to make a quick buck off of their guests who attended. Clearly to cover the cost of the drinks. Which, yeah, I understand that booze isn't cheap these days, but we're talking splitting the cost of whatever they bought between four people. Like, in my opinion, if you can't afford to supply drinks at your party, why are you having a party in the first place? This also wasn't for charity or anything. The money made off of the drinks was for them to split. My wife and I bought one drink each, stayed for about an hour or so, and said our goodbyes. When we were leaving, my friend asked why we didn't have that much to drink. I told him because I think it's ridiculous that they are charging their close friends for drinks. He called me cheap and an unsupportive friend. I assured him that I'm not. If the charging of drinks was for a good cause, like profits go to charity or something, of course I'd buy drinks. I told him I find the fact that they are charging for drinks, and keeping the money for themselves, ridiculous and taking advantage of their friends. Anyway, now my friend and his GF are butthurt about this and have been calling me an asshole to our mutual friends. Am I the asshole here?
Am I the asshole for telling my mother's surrogate son to fuck off and leave me alone, otherwise he won't get to have a real funeral for her? My mother kicked me out when I was 16 because I was gay. She was deeply homophobic, religious, and didn't want a disgusting son like me. I never saw her again. A man reached out to me a few days ago and told me my mother was like a mom to him and she was in her final stages of life. He wanted me to come back and say goodbye and arrange her funeral. I was shocked because he eventually admitted to hiring someone to get info on me so he could reach out. I told him I was not interested and to leave me alone. He has not. He has continued to try and get me involved, has told me how she changed and accepted him and loved him despite him being gay. I asked him if he really thought it would make me feel better that she could come around for a stranger but not her son. Yesterday she died and he called to tell me and told me she had deserved better, and I should put the past behind me and do right by her. I told him to fuck off and leave me alone, otherwise I will go back and claim my mother's body and I will make sure she gets the cheapest send-off imaginable and that he will not be anywhere near it. He told me it wasn't his fault she failed me and it was my fault she never got to make it right and I was unfair on him. Am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for renting a goat? So I, 30M, hate cutting grass. Hate it, hate it, hate it. The sound of the lawn mower makes me wish I could take my ears off like Mr. Potato Head and lock them in a box. It hurts my shoulder. I got injured in HS and it never healed right, and I might be the only person in the world who doesn't like the smell of cut grass and gasoline. This week was the very first week this year that I would need to cut the grass. We live in a fairly warm state, and the HOA is very strict about it. We even have little flags at the front of the yard that the grass isn't allowed to get taller than. So the point is, the lawn needs to be mowed. I don't want to do it. My wife can't because the last time she mowed a lawn she tipped into a lake. Just so happens I know a guy who owns a goat, and I offer him $20 to bring it over to eat the grass for me. The goat eats the grass, we keep her away from the neighbors' yards, goat goes home. It was great. Way better than mowing. Except now my wife is mad because some of the neighbors saw the goat and think it's hysterical that we had a goat doing yard work for us. She's pissed that I made us look like weird hicks in front of all of her friends. I don't care if they think we're a little weird, I'm happy to be laughed at if it means saving myself from the headache-inducing sound of a lawn mower. But now she's making weird comments around the house about getting a horse to carry groceries, or a chicken to clean the windows since there's no man in the house who can. I didn't expect her to react so negatively to a goat, but maybe I'm missing something? So wasn't I an asshole?